Welcome to the Battle of Ohio podcast, where we follow the revival of the historic rivalry between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Cleveland Browns.
This is episode 36 of the Battle of Ohio podcast. Free agency is fully underway, and the Bengals and Browns have made some pretty big moves so far. We're going to talk about some of the bigger ones today, as well as some pretty important re-signings for both teams. And we've got a special guest today, a former colleague of mine at my first ever sports writing job, which was called First Stop Fantasy. So say hi, Ian. This is Ian Plank.
Hi, everyone.
He is, as you can see, maybe as you can see, you can see now you can see the whole thing.
There you go.
He's a Bengals fan. We probably should start having some more Browns fans on, but
are there more?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's at least I met at least one more before. Like Thomas is not the only one.
Okay.
I've met at least one more.
Hey, man. Man, talk smack when I want a playoff game.
Wow.
You know what?
It's fair though.
That hurts.
I've been sitting on that insult for a hot minute. I've been sitting on that insult for a very long minute, and I was waiting for the right time to unleash that insult. And I was like, right now, this is when. This is the
it's
awesome. Sit on that. First time I made that one.
It's a hard one to swallow too. That's rough.
That hurts that a Browns fan can say that. I'm salty that the Browns won a playoff game before we did.
Well, I mean, the thing is that the old Browns in 1994, Bill Belichick Browns, But I got a feeling, I had a realization that the Bengals are going to have one of the best offenses in the league next year.
Yeah, well, maybe if we actually put some more pieces on the offense, but we'll get to that in a second.
No, y'all want to have. It occurred to me.
All right, well, we'll get to what you have to say in a second, but I want to go ahead and finish off this little intro bit with the Bengals might not have won a playoff game in a long time, but we still haven't heard much from that team in Western Pennsylvania because why, boys?
They suck.
The Steelers still suck.
There you go. The Steelers still suck. And then there's intro music right here. Do what?
They gotta suck to live in Western Pennsylvania. Like that don't always sound right. Like when you say it, it just hurts your tongue. Like Western Pennsylvania. Ugh.
You know what they got? They got. I assume because you have to have something to keep you living in a place without going insane. But they do have really good food there. They got they got good beef bowls, and this is one place out in like the middle of nowhere. I don't even know where it is, but they got really good ribs. It's some gas station like out in the middle of nowhere, but they got some bomb ass ribs. Only ones I've ever had that are better are from Big Art's Barbecue in Coleraine Township in Cincinnati. Unfortunately, no longer exists because Mr. Art died. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, Mr. Art.
Rest in peace, Mr. Art. Your barbecue changed my life. But anyway, let's go ahead and start getting into some of this talk here. First of all, why don't you guys tell me what you're drinking today?
Well, today I had, you remember a couple episodes, I had a lemon drop beer. I had another one of them in the fridge, and I just could not take the opportunity not drinking this again. But this thing is so delicious. I had a nice long shift. To reiterate, it's a lemon drop session sour ale. It's an ale and a sour. Let's go figure. Tart session ale brew with lemon, ginger, and rosemary. Crisp and refreshing.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think I'll say what I said last time, and I might grab one of those. That sounds delicious.
It's so good.
Yes. All right. And I've got Tattoo Girl by William Weaver. It is a Columbia Valley 2019 bottle. It is absolutely delicious. Picture's amazing. Love the artistry of it. Don't judge. Wife's birthday, so I'm drinking it for her.
Oh, I will say you're not the first person to bring wine on this podcast. I'm pretty sure we had a Ravens fan on, Zach Colgan. I'm pretty sure he was drinking wine. Is that right, Thomas? Was he drinking wine?
Yep, sure was.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. So I've got I don't know. I don't know. It's a really weird looking bottle. It's got like a cat astronaut on it. It's called Gumball Head. 3 Floyds. I just picked it up at Jungle Gyms because it looked weird and interesting.
That's actually a really good beer.
It says on the side it's not normal. Yeah, it certainly is not normal. What kind of beer even is it? Holy shit. It's weird, so it's probably an IPA, right?
Probably.
Again, the what do you say, Bubblehead? No.
Gumball Head.
Gumball Head, right?
Gumball Head. Brewed and bottled by 3 Flavors Brewing LLC in Munster, Indiana. Okay. Gumball Head. Wheat beer. So it's a wheat beer. Yep. I like wheat beer. Oh, no, I like that beer. That's a beer. That beer's good. Really crisp.
They got 95%. They got a 95% rating on beerandbrewing.com.
I thought you were about to say 95% alcohol, and I'm like, you're gonna have to take over from here, Thomas.
I mean, I had a long couple of days of work, man. I'm tired.
You know who's had a long couple of days of work to badly transition into these topics?
Okay, who?
The Cincinnati Bengals, who have been hard at work signing cornerbacks, and seemingly only cornerbacks. So far, the Bengals in free agency have signed Trey Hendrickson to replace Carl Lawson, Larry Ogunjobi to replace Geno Atkins. Sorry, Thomas. And Riley Reif to make us think that they're actually doing something about the offensive line. And in addition to that, they've also signed Chidobe Awuzie, Mike Hilton, and Eli Apple, all at cornerback. And, by the way, they're getting Trey Waynes back next year. So I don't know. Like I mentioned on Twitter, for anybody who follows me on Twitter, I made a joke about all the cornerbacks we're signing, the fact that we haven't signed any offensive linemen really yet, except for Riley Reif, which probably not enough. But I was like, I'm kind of starting to see the plan here. You know, if we sign 20 cornerbacks, then maybe we can like stitch them all together. And make one functioning offensive lineman out of them. And then I would just put like a human shield of cornerbacks in front of Joe Burrow. And it would just probably take too long to get to the guy. Because, I mean, you can only plow through so many human beings before you kind of like slow down from fatigue, right? So that's probably what they're doing. Because, I mean, you can't play this many damn cornerbacks at corner. So just like stick a couple of them behind the offensive lineman. Just hope the refs don't call like 13 men on the field or something like that.
Yeah, we'll have a good secondary. I don't know. That strategy. I'm sorry. Were you gonna say something to Ian?
No, you go ahead.
I like the fact that they're I like a lot of things that Cincinnati's doing this offseason because I'm not. The only thing I wish, I like everybody, is that they go out and get more offensive line help. But I was thinking about something that you said a couple of weeks ago. I think their offense is going to be so good next year. But as far as their aggressiveness for cornerback help, it seems like they're when I first thought about like why are they so aggressive on not but then I thought about it. Obviously Ogunjobi is going to help you guys with the run a lot because the Browns had one of the best run defenses in the league last year. So Ogunjobi is going to help you guys with that run very well next year. So that's very exciting. We're in a running back division, with running backs like Lamar Jackson and Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. but at first when y'all got aggressive on these cornerbacks, I was like, well, why do you need such a great secondary in AFC North when it's such a running back heavy division? because Ben Roethlisberger can't throw, and Lamar Jackson can't throw, and the only team he throws in
And Baker Mayfield can't throw.
Who? What you say?
I said Baker Mayfield can't throw.
Do I gotta show you the video of Baker Mayfield?
You don't have to show us that video.
On you?
No, you don't have to show us that video.
Yeah, or the 23 straight completions in the second half.
That was a great game. Hey, look, man, Still had a good game that game too.
That was rough. That was rough to watch. Any chance the Bengals had of coming back, it was. He just kept completing them.
Game, though. Like Burrow showed me something. Burrow showed me something that game. That was sick. But it seems like the reason why you want a good secondary is this is going to benefit the Bengals when they make the playoffs. So I keep on telling you, they're going to make the playoffs. When I play against teams that like to air it out, like Chiefs, Ryan Tannehill, his arm is better than people been giving him credit for. He's actually been passing the ball over on the field. You want to start. You guys are going to have the ability to stop some of these great quarterbacks in the AFC. The AFC is just so deep at the quarterback position. So having a good secondary while you're in the AFC, not just the AFC North, is very important if you want to compete. That's kind of cliche. Of course, you want a great secondary, but I like the Bengals.
Yeah. I think with the corners, I think they just need people that can run. If you look at, like you said, the running back, quarterback, however you want to look at him, Lamar Jackson, you got to have guys that can run with him and track him down if you get him running east and west, because otherwise he's just going to run around you. Bengals, they're typically a 3-4 defense. So they got a lot of heavy guys on the field. Even if they go base nickel, you still got to have those guys that can run with Lamar and track him down in the backfield or for a minimal gain at best, because he made them look like complete clowns just a couple of years ago.
Okay, so here's my problem though. Like, okay, I love the fact that we're addressing defense. Don't get me wrong here. The defense definitely needs to be fixed, but man, we've done so much work on the defense to this point. Almost all of our big free agent signings from this year and last year, by the way, were on defense. We've got all this talent on defense, and if we have another bad year on defense, and Lou Anarumo is not fired after next year, then I don't even know at that point. Like, I want his job. I want his job. I've got like FedEx is a pretty, forgiving job, but no job in the world is as forgiving as Lou Anarumo's job. Holy crap.
Oh, absolutely. They have.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying they have an outrageous amount of talent on paper and to not be able to use those effectively and win some games, pitch some shutouts in any quarter at that rate would be absolutely ridiculous. But to your point for not addressing the line, some of the stuff that I was reading, just looking at Penei Sewell, the projected pick for us there at number 5, if he's available, it's supposed to be on target, a no miss prospect for us, especially in an area of need. But I wonder if you look at him as an interior lineman. The guy's athletic, and when you look at some of his tape, some of the downside to him is not being strong enough on the edge to handle some bull rush. Move him inside where he can get chips and help from a center or a tackle. I think he could use that athleticism to get to the next level and help our running game become more established and consistent.
So I was actually talking to Matt Minnick from Cincy Jungle about this on Twitter the other day, and I could Penei Sewell do fine on the interior? Get to you in a second, Thomas. Could Penei Sewell do fine on the interior? I think he could, but I think you're really wasting his what do you call it? I think you're wasting the brunt of his talent if you put him on the interior, because like you said, he's very athletic. He's he can get around. He can shove edge guys out of the way. Why are you going to be having him going head to head against the slow moving defensive tackles? Which if you're facing off against like Aaron Donald, then that's a great guy to have on the interior. But most of the time, you're not facing off against Aaron Donald. You know, the AFC North has a lot of notoriously slow defensive tackles. So am I saying Penei Sewell should never be on the interior and he would be a horrible interior player? No, I'm not. But, like, he would be so great on the edge. So why do you waste his talent putting him on the inside?
I don't know that it's necessarily a waste. If you look at his athleticism and the brunt of the AFC North in the power rush game, his ability to pull and get around to those edge guys a lot quicker to turn them inside. So running back like Joe Mixon or Bernard, who's shifty, get him out on the edge one-on-one with some linebackers or corners at the second level. I think there's some plays to be had there if you move him to the interior.
That's true. I hope that if that is the thought process, and at this point I'm starting to worry because, like, we've made one offensive line signing and then we re-signed Quentin Spain, which, I mean, Quentin Spain's a good interior lineman. I'm not unhappy about that. I don't know if I want him to be like the bona fide starter, but having him be like kind of like a rotational guy who comes in when you need him, I think that's pretty good. And maybe he can hit his potential and be a great starter. I haven't seen it yet, but, you know, maybe. But I just supposedly there's been rumors that the Bengals are talking to Trey Turner, Nick Easton, who I'm not sold on Nick Easton as a starter either. It's kind of like a slight upgrade from Quentin Spain, in my opinion. And also those reports coming out that the Bengals were in talks with Joe Thuney and Kevin Zeitler, but, like, it basically disrespected both of them by lowballing the hell out of them. It's just like they are we ever going to treat interior alignment like they're people?
Apparently not.
I don't know, man. I also, it'd be nice if we treated Joe Burrow like he's a person, or at least Joe Burrow's legs.
I about to say I didn't treat his leg like he was a person. Y'all freaking did the same thing to that leg that freaking paper companies do to trees. By the way,
yes.
By the way, hot take. I'm about to be real with you, Kyle. I was thinking about this. I don't think the Bengals should take Penei Sewell at 5.
A lot of people are saying that.
I don't think so. You said it, not last podcast, but like 3 podcasts ago. You talked about this kid, Kyle Pitts. Y'all gotta get that kid.
If I had, I would really like to see the Bengals get Jamar Chase. But I would also be okay with Pitts if, you know, maybe we trade down a little bit. I don't know about Pitts at 5, but I like Kyle Pitts. I think he'd be a good addition to the offense.
Man, dude, they're saying this kid could be one of the greatest tight ends of all. Nah, y'all got to get this kid.
Yeah. I think Kuiper said it was probably the highest graded tight end he's ever scouted.
Y'all
got to get this kid, man. Y'all got to get it.
He's really good. I would think if we're going to do that, I'm hoping we're going to trade down, which would be great, by the way, because if we trade down, I feel like there's a lot of quality offensive linemen that we could get in like the 2nd and 3rd round of the draft.
Yeah, I agree.
And then we don't have to worry about Penei Sewell at 5, which, by the way, we might not have to worry about anyway because Riley Reif is a good right tackle. So we don't really need tackle anymore. That's not really an issue anymore.
Jamal Chase beast too. Like him, and there's a lot. Those 3 receivers, like I'm just looking at these 3. You got Jamal Chase, who people are just raving about. The fact that he's in the same conversation and some people would take him over Jalen Winder is just speaks to how good he is. And then you got this Kent Miss tight end and Kyle Pitts. And then on top of that, and this is what molds into the Bengals' favor. Like you said, trading down. People overdraft for quarterbacks. You guys are at 5. You guys are a really, really good position. So Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, because Trevor Lawrence is going to be taken first, right? So Zach Wilson and Justin Fields, probably both of those players are going to probably be taken in the top 10. So if y'all might be able to find a team that's desperate enough to get one of those players, maybe you're able to trade back, and maybe one of those receivers might fall for y'all because, like, I think that getting Joe Burrow another weapon will be just the thing to set y'all over the top. But I think if I have a chance to get Kyle Pitts, man, like I just think that nothing can make an offense more unbeatable than a tight end that can catch like a receiver.
Well,
like,
and
we see it so many times. Kansas City, New England, and now freaking shit.
For sure. But what you just said is exactly why I'm not too worried about the fact that the Bengals didn't get Kenny Galladay. I can't remember if we talk about Kenny Galladay on the last podcast, Thomas?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did. Okay. So we briefly mentioned that the Bengals were in the Kenny Galladay sweepstakes. We were, potentially going to sign him. He ended up signing with the Giants, though, for $72 million. And also that first year is kind of offset quite a bit. So he ends up making over $21 million a season in 2022, 2023, and 2024. So yeah, I don't think we need that guy. Like that's a lot of money to pay a guy who didn't really do much last year because he was hurt. Now, don't get me wrong, Kenny Galladay, great, but AJ Green, great, and look what he did after he got injured. So with so many great options at wide receiver in this year's draft, and so many good options, by the way, in the draft, and then we got T. Higgins, we got Tyler Boyd already. We can go get any wide receiver, I think, in this year's draft, and plug them into the current room, and then we're good. Like, we don't have any more issues. So why the hell would we go spend $72 million on a wide receiver like Kenny Galladay? I was up for Kenny Galladay until I found out he wanted $18.5 million a year. Like, fuck that.
Yeah. Well, here's where I think the Bengals could, just trying to get back to the Kyle Pitts thing out of Florida. Where I think the Bengals can fall in love with him is if you look at where Joe Burrow excelled last year is those short to intermediate routes, those 10 to 19 yards down the field. Kyle Pitts would just completely eat defenses alive in that area. And that's going to open up T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, because Tyler Boyd, one of the best, if not the best slot receiver in the game when he lines up in the slot. But that allows you to do other things with him. If you have a guy like Kyle Pitts who can, outrun the linebackers, pull down some safety help, you're going to have more one-on-ones for those guys than you would now. Or even if you added another receiver, I think Kyle Pitts just adds another dimension, almost like a San Francisco 49ers usage of George Kittle. I think that would do complete wonders for that offense, especially with Joe Burrow there.
Well, Joe Burrow and Kyle Pitts, I think, would be about as dangerous, almost as dangerous as, like, Tom Brady and Gronk, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the kind of, like, potential connection level we're talking about here.
Right. No, absolutely. Now, one receiver I'm not hearing a lot about, and to me it's surprising, and maybe I'm a little ignorant to an extent. Devontae Smith, is he not eligible for this draft?
No, he's going to be in this draft. He's probably going to be taken pretty high too. I was hearing the Dolphins were really high on him, and they might still be. I don't know. I don't personally think that I'm not personally super high on him because it took him a while to kind of get to the level that he is. It's like, how old is Devontae Smith right now?
Devontae Smith he was a senior.
Yeah, he's already 22 years old. So I mean, that's great, but he's 174 pounds. And it took him until he was 22 years old to really break out in college at Alabama. So
it's a deep school, a lot of receivers, a lot of weapons.
Yeah.
He did have freaking 1,800 yards.
No, he's fantastic. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure he'll be great. But I'm just saying, if your choices are between Devontae Smith and Kyle Pitts and Jamar Chase, it's like when you're comparing them to the top of the draft class, I'm like, I think I'll pass on Smith. I'll take Smith at, like, 10 or something like that,
I mean, but didn't he sit behind Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs the season before last. So I mean, there weren't a lot of targets to be had for him until this season.
You can make targets if you're supposedly that damn talented. I mean, think about all the talent you're going to be dealing with on a constant basis in the NFL. Every receiver is great. Every receiver is one of the best receivers to ever play in college.
I mean, that's fair, but when you're looking at just comparison's sake, you have three first rounders. If you consider Devontae Smith a first rounder, you got 3 first rounders on that team. 2 are upperclassmen on you, or at least have more hype than you do, at least at that point in time. You're not going to get the targets. I mean, it's just, and then you have the politics that go into it, unfortunately, of, hey, who needs the draft stock? I'm going to throw him the ball a couple times, see what he does. And Devontae Smith wasn't in that position.
Man, first of all, I love receivers. My favorite position in football, and there's a lot of good receivers in this draft. And it reminds me of the 2014 draft. We had Odell Beckham, Sammy Watkins, Mike Evans, Kevin Benjamin, and who
James Wright,
all taken in the first. Brandon Cook, all taken in the first round. That is just nuts.
James Wright wasn't taken in the first round.
That'd be great. But I will say this though about Devontae Smith. A lot of times, people get all caught up in the college stats, and yeah, they do translate, but sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Sammy Watkins was just phenomenal in college. He was, in my opinion, one of the most unguardable receivers in college that I've seen. Him in that combination with him, Deshaun Watson, but he also was a beneficiary of a good offensive system and good structure. So the argument comes down to who's better at those receivers with Jamar Chase and Winder. Am I saying his name right? Yeah. So a lot of people think that they have better, they have better mechanics and they have better intangibles. And it just kind of make you think about this Sammy Watkins thing. A lot of people thought that Sammy Watkins was going to be the best receiver in that draft. Well, then you have Odell Beckham do what he do. You have Mike Evans doing what he's doing. We got Brandon Cook doing what he's doing. And then it turns out that Sammy Watkins, I don't know. I don't know.
Hey,
these receivers that come out of draft can be a crapshoot, man.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, continue what you were saying, Thomas.
Yeah, I'm done. Draft Cal Pitts. Draft Cal Pitts. Just draft them. Y'all figure out some way to fix the offensive line, but y'all better get that tight end, man. Y'all better get that dude.
Look,
I'm sorry,
Pitts,
man.
Kyle
Pitts,
get that dude. Yeah, Kyle Pitts is really good. My only thing is I would love to get Kyle Pitts. I would love to trade down as well and get Kyle Pitts because I want to pick up some extra picks. Maybe like you said, if you got one of those quarterbacks who's still on the board, maybe you can have somebody send us an extra second or an extra third, and then really, really throw yourself into either fixing the offensive line or maybe go get one of those receivers Amon-Ra St. Brown, for example, Sage Surratt. Although you could probably get him in the 4th round. But guys like that you can probably do, and you get Kyle Pitts. I don't know about taking Kyle Pitts at 5 because you don't really need to. But I do have one more thing to say about the Bengals, and then I want to hop over to the Browns.
Oh yeah,
because we they haven't done as much as the Bengals, but they've been doing stuff too, so we probably ought to talk about them. But Ian, the bad man, is gone. Randy Bullock signed with the Lions.
I am excited about that. I don't know Austin Siebert. I don't think he's the answer, but I'm excited that Bullock is gone.
Hey man, you know what? He looked good in college, I think, sort of. I thought when the Browns picked him up that I was like, oh shit, he's gonna do a good job for them, and then he didn't, and I'm like, okay, cool, awesome. And then we signed him, and I'm like, hey, maybe there's a way out of Randy Bullock here. But then again, we picked Randy Bullock over Jake Elliott, so maybe we're not smart. Probably not.
I was just about to say that. I don't think Marvin Lewis will ever be able to live that down, trying to sneak him onto the practice squad.
No.
No.
No, that was the worst. That was the absolute worst.
And then in
So
true Bengals fashion, he goes on and wins the Super Bowl.
Yeah. And doing it, by the way, with, you know, a freaking like 50, 60-yard leg that has just been absent for Bengals kickers
Oh, yeah.
throughout our entire franchise. I'm not saying no Bengals players ever made like a 50-plus yard field goal before, but we've just never had power kickers. And those are the most fun kind of kickers to have. If you're going to have a kicker, you might as well have a fun kicker.
Right. And with Andy Dalton at the helm, you should have had a guy that can kick 60-plus. We might have won a couple extra games.
Right, exactly. That's the thing. I mean, if you're only going to be able to drive 40 yards down the field half the time, you might as well get somebody who can at least get you some points.
Right.
Absolutely. And so we had Mike Nugent, who's like great within 30, which actually there was, I forget which year, but there was that one year that we were doing great with getting the ball down the field. We just couldn't get it in the end zone. So maybe Mike Nugent would have been great for that, but I don't know. Anyway, the Randy Bullock's gone. I don't know what we're going to do at kicker, but
what's his face?
Oh, you talking about Siebert?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it could be him, but at the same time, the Bengals didn't really seem to trust him a whole lot last year. So I wonder if he's their thought process, if we're thinking, oh, he's the kicker of the future, or if we're going to go pick somebody else up. I mean, I'd like to see them get I'd like to see him given a chance, but they haven't done it so far. They've had him on the team, and that's about it.
He kicked a couple field goals.
Do what?
So he kicked for us last year in the last few games, I thought.
Yeah, well, he did a little bit of kicking, but it was all like, you know, I think it was partially to give Bullock a little bit of a break or a rest. It was never intended to be like, you know, moving on from Randy Bullock.
Oh, no, I agree with that. But
and I'll tell you what, Bullock kind of makes it hard to hate him. Most of the time he doesn't. He was kind of a dick. I mean, he wasn't, but he was. And then there was the whole leg cramps thing. And it's just like some of the shit he said on Twitter was just like, shut up.
Yeah,
but like most recently, he posted like a heartfelt goodbye to Cincinnati. And my first thought is I'm sitting here like, why? We didn't like you. But then my second thought was, he's a good guy. I can't be too mad at him. He's a good person, I guess. Fine.
Go to football hospice.
Go to football hospice. Yeah. One thing I wanted to point out was the Bengals have actually had some really good. All of the re-signings they've made so far, I've been really happy with. It actually came out a little bit before we started recording this podcast. The Bengals re-signed Quentin Spain, which, once again, I think I mentioned this earlier. Good, very good re-signing. I'm not going to jump over the moon for Quentin Spain, but I am happy that he's back because he made that, you know, what was it, left guard? I think. Was he playing left guard? Or was it right guard?
I want to say it was right. I think it was right guard because he filled in for Suafilo, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Okay, so yeah, whichever guard spot he was playing was definitely better when he was there, and it still wasn't out of this world. But you know, people keep saying that the Bengals' offensive line just needs to at least get to average. Doesn't need to be like an elite world-beating offensive line; just needs to at least get to average. And Quentin Spain helps you get to average. So if that's the worst, like if he's the worst offensive lineman we have this year, it's a huge upgrade over last year. Yeah. But we still got to fix that other interior offensive line spot. Now, I think Xavier Suafilo will be good. Who knows if he's actually able to stay on the field. But I also don't think Xavier Suafilo is going to be great. I think it'll be kind of a toss-up between him and Quentin Spain for who's the biggest liability.
Yeah.
Depending on center, by the way, until Trey Hopkins comes back.
Yeah, but if you look at the coach, the coaching change on the offensive line, you got Frank Pollock back.
Yeah.
And what he was able to do with some substandard talent, you know, just a couple of years ago, had that line playing average. And if that's the benchmark, I'll take it if you can get that out of these guys for sure.
But yeah, anyway, let's go ahead and get over to the Browns, who have been more active since the last time we recorded, by the way. So far signed John Johnson and Troy Hill, both secondary players from the Rams. Greg Sinat, an offensive lineman, Malik Jackson, a defensive tackle, Anthony Walker, a linebacker, and Tat McKinley, the defensive end, who the Bengals brought in last year and then found some medical issue and didn't end up signing him. Then I think something similar happened with the Raiders, or maybe he did sign with the Raiders and he didn't do anything. I don't know, but very high, very low risk, high reward signing for the Browns there and Tat McKinley. So what are you thinking so far, Thomas, with these signings?
Well, from everything from the interview that Tat McKinley had when he came to the building to Tat McKinley, what Andrew Berry's been saying about Tat McKinley, I'm hearing a lot of good things about Tat McKinley. I think that a lot of times these young players, I talked about in last podcast, the second draft. I think that there's a quick mature, you mature as you get older, and I think as opportunity lessen, maturity change. I think the fact that that this might be your last chance might pressure somebody to work harder. I think that's a real thing. I think that's a real thing that happens to people, especially young people.
Quite possibly.
And I think there's a lot of skill. He says it's low risk, high reward. Why not take a swing at this kid? Andrew Berry obviously have a lot to like about this kid. I trust Andrew Berry's judgment for multiple reasons. Andrew Berry's been doing a fantastic job because I also like the Anthony Walker signing. I also like the fact that he was able to get Troy Hill and he was able to get John Johnson on a team-friendly deal, which shores up our secondary. Still have Myles Garrett that can help. That's gonna help both these. It's gonna help everybody else's game get better. And then and I just like the direction they're going, and maybe get an edge during the draft, and then you got just set on defense.
Here's my thought process actually about the edge, about the defensive line in general. Malik Jackson actually a pretty good. If you're gonna lose Larry Ogunjobi anyway, Malik Jackson, pretty decent, pretty decent replacement there. Yeah. You got like I said, you got John Johnson, you got Troy Hill. That's a really good addition to your secondary. But in particular on that defensive line, you got, if Tat McKinley pans out to his potential, him and Myles Garrett together could do some damage, especially, if you've got the interior, not hemorrhaging because you lost Larry Ogunjobi.
I like that for the draft too. By the way, I like that kid out of Tulsa. The linebacker out of Tulsa, Zazen Collin. I like him. I also like his mentality. All he want to do is fish. Come to Cleveland, fish all you want. You can even ice fish.
I was about to say you can ice fish maybe.
We can fish in Cleveland. We got lakes up here. We got the freaking 15th largest lake in the entire world. You're telling me there's no fishes in that thing? That thing is huge.
But listen to Thomas over here bragging about the 15th largest lake in the world.
You gotta realize,
set on fire.
So y'all live in Cincinnati. So y'all don't live in a Great Lake city. When you live in a Great Lake city, when somebody say a lake to you, you think something huge. Like the lakes that everybody else think about is just ponds. Like, I'm sorry, if the lake have like 5 houses on it, there's a pond. There ain't no pond.
Yeah.
My lake is so big, they got islands on it.
They don't set them on fire either, though. So
a lake gotta be like, come on, man. Like the lakes, like. I had a friend from California who flew to Cleveland one time, and then he was like, "Oh, when I see Lake Erie, I thought I was going to see Canada." Like, no, it's not that small because that's a real lake. Like, I don't know what lakes y'all be looking at.
We just have the Ohio River.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can see Kentucky from the Ohio River, but see, when I was a kid and went up to Cleveland, I actually thought I was going to have the same experience. I thought I was going to go up to Cleveland and see Canada from the other side because I was used to seeing Kentucky from the Ohio River.
Well, you never seen a real lake till you came to Cleveland. Now. It's a real lake, not those little ponds. They call lakes. They're not lakes, and ponds.
I don't think I'd ever been to a lake up to that point. I mean, like, we got lakes in Cincinnati, but I don't really go visit them.
Yeah.
Mostly the rivers. Mostly the rivers is what I go around here.
It's not a lake unless it was made by a glacier.
All other lakes are fake lakes. Look at Thomas, the lake purist over here.
Yeah, like it's a real thing. Like I really believe that. Like the whole thing is like people like my perception of a lake is different from the perception of a lake in other people. If you're watching this right now, put in the comments what you thought a lake was, and if you think that a lake got to be at least big enough to fit an island on it. If your lake does not fit an island on it, like a decent sized island, it's not a lake.
And it has to be big enough to fit Hugh Jackson's ego.
Yeah, that too. He's jumping that boy.
So, in addition to those signings, they've also re-signed, and we talked about this on the last podcast, I think, Rashard Higgins, which was a guy who I was kind of hoping would make it to free agency and come to Cincinnati. Super Bowl MVP Malcolm Smith, who, as we talked about last time, did not really do anything in Cleveland, but hey, maybe he'll do something this time. Elijah Lee, who I don't actually know who that is. Thomas, who is Elijah Lee? He doesn't know who that is.
Give me a second while I Google him. He signed for under $1 million, so give me a second while I Google you.
So he's probably not anybody of any substantial.
Hey, when we win the Super Bowl because of Elijah Lee, we're gonna come back to this.
He's gonna make the game-winning interception. He's a linebacker. I know he's a linebacker.
Yeah, but no, it happened to that dude. Let's see. It happened to that dude who played for what's it called? The Patriots. He's just a bench warmer. I'm like, hey, get in the game.
But he ain't a bench warmer anymore. Now he's one of the highest paid cornerbacks in the league year in and year out.
Yeah, see, one interception turned his whole career. It's just like Old Town Road changed freaking Lil Nas X whole career. Like he wasn't even a rapper.
And Billy Ray Cyrus's career. Come on now.
Yeah, Old Town Road changed Billy Ray Cyrus's career. That is accurate.
Freaking or how Crank that changed his Soulja Boy career.
Soulja Boy has a career.
He had one. Talking about Drake.
Yeah, briefly, and then he started making bootleg game consoles.
Hey man, those game consoles were revolutionary. Anyway, Elijah Lee is 25 years old. He played for San Francisco before coming to Cleveland, so he had a Joe Woods connection. Probably Joe Woods see something in this kid that somebody else don't. Give him a chance. So
he does have a 73.5 rating on PFF.
Wow.
So whatever that sample size looks like, it was decent. It was pretty good.
That's not bad. No wonder they re-signed him. Speaking of re-signing, I think very recently, I don't think this was since the last podcast, but it may have been. I don't remember. But the Browns did re-sign the man, the myth, the legend, the double doink, Cody Parkey.
Oh, shit.
Hey, man, Cody, he did a good job last year.
How many double doinks did he doink?
No, he doinked once.
Only once.
But they're not here or there.
That's too many.
Well, look what y'all. Hold on. Who had the worst kicker last year? Because, y'all just telling me that Randy.
Yeah, we had a pretty bad kicker.
Y'all talking about how Randy Bullock is the devil.
I was actually I was actually really sad because like he replaced Matt Prater in Detroit, so I was over here like Prater, and he went somewhere else. I think he went to like Arizona or something. I forget. I could probably look it up, but I'm not going to do that. So, last bit of Cleveland news that we want to talk about is the NFL has confirmed that they will be actually doing the NFL draft live in Cleveland this year.
Oh, yeah. It's going to
be taking place from April 29th to May 1st. And they are going to keep some of the remote features that they had in the last draft, but not due to, it doesn't sound like they're keeping them due to like worries about safety. It sounds like they're keeping them because they were popular. Now, we weren't doing the podcast during the last draft, but I recall talking to people about that style, and there were actually a lot of stuff that I really liked about it. So, I mean, it'd be interesting to see what they keep as far as like the remote features. Maybe they're going to have, like a whole lot more like cameras inside houses of like draft prospects who are expecting to maybe be drafted, and then get more like real immediate reactions from people who aren't like top 10 picks. That would certainly be really interesting. Not to mention like the in-home interviews and like the real raw emotion of all that.
Yeah. I did like those. I think they should make Roger Goodell do it live because the boos are not the same when you do it remotely like that.
Well, and the boos also aren't the same when he like gets into it.
Yeah,
because then it's just like, man, you're ruining it. He's like the fucking old white suburban dad who just kind of kills all the fun. Like, fuck you, Roger Goodell. We already hate you. Now we hate you more.
Right.
I'm gonna say this, ladies and gentlemen. I am gonna make so much content during the NFL draft. It's gonna be ridiculous. I'm just gonna get wasted. I'm about to be down there all 4 days or 3 days, however long it's there. I took 5 days off of work because I'm only 2 days to recover. I am going to have so much fun booing that man. I might cheer for him. If everybody else booing, I might cheer. When everybody else zag, I want zig. When everybody else zig, I want zag. When people think I'm going to zag because they zig, I'm going to zig with them. I'm unexpected. I'm just
make sure if you're gonna do that and you're gonna court it, make sure to bring Black Baker Mayfield with you.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Of course, we always gotta bring Black Baker Mayfield with you. Anyway, check out my Black Baker Mayfield videos, by the way. So anyway, I'm looking at this. So if you haven't, they're gonna basically have the draft right by the stadium, right next to the Great Lakes Science Center and stuff. They're going to build this whole stage. They're going to allow a certain amount of people right up near the stage. So it's going to look full. It's going to be spaced out, but it's going to look very full and very vibrant. Then they're going to have the mall. They're going to have the mall area, and then that's going to be more open. So they're going to have everybody there. And the most exciting thing about this NFL draft is this is the first event that's going to be like the first step back to normalcy, if that makes sense. Like, I know we've been having fans in the stands at some of these games and stuff, but this is like the first like outdoor, open, big event. Like, we haven't had parades last year. We haven't had like, we had these games, but we haven't had these like live music concerts or anything. This is something that they're going to have a mass gathering of people. It's all going to be mostly free, and it's going to be just like the first step back to normalcy. So Cleveland have a really good opportunity to bring a lot of hope to a lot of people in this draft. And I'm really excited to be a part of this. I'm really excited to be there. I'm really excited to see this. Really excited to take photos, pictures. Oh, man. Anybody else hyped about this NFL draft? I am. I haven't been this excited about the NFL draft since, like, the Browns were bad 2 years ago.
that is a really... That is a really weird thing to say. Back when the Browns were bad, like what dimension have we entered? when that was in the past.
Look, we gonna enter alternative dimension in 2020, dude. Like it's just
Yeah, I think we did. I really
you
think
look
we
funny
did.
about 2020. It is a lead up. But like I know a lot of people say 2019 was a horrible year. It's like, oh, 2018, this year is horrible. Oh, 2017, this year is horrible. It's like
Do you remember back in 2016 when everybody was like, "This is the worst year ever. I can't wait until like the end of this year." And oh no, I had a pretty good 2016. Like, but I mean, yeah, I like honestly, guys. Like, I mean, the pandemic sucks. You know, not being able to travel. There was a lot, but my personal 2020 was just fine. Like I didn't have a lot of really negative experiences other than the fact that like, you know, there's a pandemic and lockdowns and stuff like that. But outside of that, you know, it was just like, yeah, if you don't take too many things to heart, I think you can just have a normal life and not have to like give in to every single bad thing that happens, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think people make too big of a deal out of like cursed years, you know?
I flew to Dallas.
That you did. That you did.
I rode the world's fastest wooden roller coaster in 2020. But I did a year.
Nice.
All right, let's get talking about the rest of the AFC North because we're rambling now.
Yep. So not a whole lot to talk about in the rest of the AFC North because the Bengals and the Browns have been by far and away the most active teams. Pretty much all the Ravens and Steelers have done is lost people.
Yeah.
So like the Ravens, they brought back a few players. There was like Pernell McPhee. What was it? Tyus Bowser. There was a couple other guys. The most notable thing that they've done so far, though, is they lost Matt Judon to the Patriots. All right, though. They lost Yannick Ngakoue to the Raiders. They lost Mark Ingram to, I forget. I could probably figure that out real quick, actually. Mark Ingram. Did he go back to the Saints? I cannot find any information on that. Actually,
Didn't we talk about it in the last podcast? You like
we did. I just forgot where it went.
Texas? No.
Texas. That's right. I remember something about that.
Texas. Yeah.
Wikipedia still has him marked as the Ravens, but yeah, I think you're right. He did. I think I heard him about going to the Texans. They lost their center Matt Skira to I believe the Lions. And a few other free agents. But I mean, like those are 4 like starters. 2 of which were defensive ends, by the way. So I don't know what the Ravens are going to do for a pass rush next year.
I if I'm a Ravens fan, I'd be concerned.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like how are you not concerned right now as a Ravens fan? So like, all right, so first of all, his team is plateaued. And how they gonna be better? Like, what you gonna do? You gonna give Lamar Jackson better receivers? Who he's gonna throw to? Like, I mean, I don't know. Probably drop the receivers this draft. They probably won't give him better weapons. And maybe it would be beneficial to give him better weapons. But this team is obviously plateaued. People aren't afraid of them anymore. They're gonna barely make it in the playoff next year, but they ain't gonna do anything. I'll be very concerned as a Ravens fan for the Ravens, and if and when Lamar Jackson have a first round exit this year, they're gonna have a lot of questions on that quarterback, a lot of questions on the structure of this team. That's coming, Baltimore.
I personally, I wouldn't be shocked to see them not make the playoffs at all next year. And we've talked about that on this podcast, but
they make the playoffs last year.
Huh?
They almost did make the playoffs last year.
But I know. That's what I'm saying. I don't think they're gonna barely sneak. I think they're just gonna straight up miss the playoffs next year. I mean, like Lamar Jackson's very talented, and when you got him, a lot of things are possible. But at the same time, I just think like the worse situation you put Lamar Jackson in, the less he's going to be able to rise to the situation.
Yeah, just make sure in the fourth quarter he doesn't have to take a shit.
Well,
That's
yeah.
all.
Yeah. Just,
It
you
kinda
know,
goes
make
back.
sure to
I think
feed him as
Lamar
much
Jackson-
fiber as you can.
Yeah.
I
No.
think Lamar Jackson is a very excellent player. Lamar Jackson is a very excellent player.
Yeah. And honestly, talent-wise, I'm inclined to agree with you guys. I don't know that Baltimore is talented enough to make the playoffs. Not just looking at the AFC North, but the AFC as a whole. But Jim Harbaugh, I mean, or John Harbaugh, whatever brother it is.
It's John.
I mean, he's a stellar coach, and his ability to plug and play is almost at a level of Belichick. I mean, you almost don't even know some of the guys on their team, but they're able to make it work, whether it's scheme-wise, figuring out what they do best, putting them in the best positions to be successful. They always end up having a competitive team to some extent. So I don't know that I would necessarily completely write them off, but I don't think they're going to run away with the division. I don't necessarily think that they're going to get a top 4 seed. They're probably definitely going to be in a wild card position if they make it in.
It kind of goes back to the conversation that we had. We had this conversation, our second and third episode of this podcast. We talked about a middle class quarterback or up class quarterback, quarterbacks who had the beneficiary of coming into a great system and a good organization, and somebody that put them in a position to win makes a huge difference. And sometimes it elevates the level of a quarterback who would have been average or below average somewhere else. And, I really wonder how well Lamar Jackson would have been if he, instead of going to Baltimore, he went to a team like the Jets or a team like the Browns. How would he have handled the situation of being an organization that have no idea what they're doing, or a coach that have no idea how to rally around him? Harbaugh, like you said, built an offense around Lamar Jackson. He made this unique style play. And a lot of times when people make that unique style play because of a unique skill set, it's very hard to beat at first. But as time goes on, the NFL usually adjusts and they usually figure out to them. And the thing is that the game of football comes down to how you move the ball down the field efficiently. And if you don't have a quarterback that can throw the ball consistently, that can make some of these throws consistently, that can manipulate the defense consistently with his arm, but he's just doing it with his legs, and your team becoming one-dimensional, then people start to figure you out. And, we're not saying that he's not athletic. We ain't saying that he don't got an arm. We ain't saying that he's not a good player. He's not tough. What I'm saying is that his playing style is becoming one-dimensional. It's becoming easier and easier to figure out. And when he starts throwing that ball deep, he's going to start getting that ball picked, because when he throws that ball deep, it's going to be expected now. And then he's going to get older. Like Lamar, y'all got to figure it out, man. They got to figure it out. They got a year. They literally have this year to figure it out. Because they get knocked out in the first round this year. It's over for Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, well, I think they got to add another back there. Honestly, whether it's the draft or find another one in free agency, you lose Mark Ingram, you lose the ability for that, double-headed, triple option, read option. I just think if you're able to shut that running game down, what is he going to do? I mean, I know the Bengals kind of shut him down, kind of. I mean, he had 2 yards rushing against the Bengals, but they let Mark Ingram and Gus Edwards and everybody else eat on the ground. But if you can shut it all down, if you can bring that, I mean, the guy's not going to throw on you. I mean, it's a mixture of his inability to efficiently push the ball downfield, but also his receivers. I mean, you got guys that just run straight lines. They're not finesse type receivers. They're not going to run routes and necessarily break a bunch of guys' ankles or get themselves open. They rely on that play action to pull the safeties up and get one-on-one on the outside.
There are a subset of Bengals fans, quite a relatively large number actually, who at the time and still to this day heavily lament the fact that we didn't take Lamar Jackson in the 2018 draft. And I mean, in fairness, we took Billy Price, so we didn't exactly do great that year. But you see, I think I've always thought, and people have said the same thing about the fact that we didn't take Deshaun Watson, or at least go get him or something like that.
I'm mad that we didn't draft Deshaun Watson. Got him looking at the right dab in the face. You're gonna have Miles Garrett and Deshaun Watson. And they trade down. You know who they trade down again if they trade down? Jarrell Peppers.
Hey, y'all got Odell Beckham out of that though. But see, yeah. But my thought process here though
they
is
had Deshaun Watson and Miles Garrett in the same draft. Come on.
Is Lamar Jackson a better player than Billy Price?
Well, I guess you don't.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't think Lamar Jackson's that much better than Billy Price. No, I'm kidding. Lamar Jackson's way better than fucking Billy Price. But if we had gone and got Lamar Jackson, we wouldn't have Joe Burrow right now.
Yeah.
Like just remember that. Like, I mean, that's kind of my thought process with all those Bengals fans who are like, we should have gone and got Lamar Jackson. Well, everything else wouldn't have played out the way it played. Yeah, maybe 2018 and 2019 would have been a little bit more pleasant. But the Bengals weren't ready to move on from Andy Dalton in 2018, even though a lot of Bengals fans were. So, I mean, first of all, that wasn't going to happen. Second of all, we wouldn't have Joe Burrow. I would much rather have Joe Burrow and see what he can do, even if we didn't put an offensive line around him, but then you might have the same problem with Lamar Jackson. I would much rather have Joe Burrow and see what Joe Burrow is going to do than Lamar Jackson and see what Lamar Jackson's going to do. And to be quite honest, I think that Lamar Jackson, when it's all said and done, for how talented he is going to end his career with everybody saying, like, oh, man, what could have been if, like, the Ravens had actually, like, done something with his career? Because, like, he won an MVP, but, like, what has that brought them? They finally beat the Titans in the playoffs.
Hey, if I draft Kyle Pitts, I guarantee you nobody would say that. Nobody would take Joe Burrow over, or nobody would take Lamar Jackson over Joe Burrow. Like, oh my God, like y'all gotta get that kid. Y'all gotta get that kid. Like Joe Burrow, throw it to Kyle Pitts. Like that dude. Like if Joe Burrow gets Kyle Pitts, you would have a freaking Patrick Mahomes type season. Oh my God, he was just going hell. Like I gotta get that kid, man. I gotta get that kid. Like I'm sorry.
I would like to get Kyle Pitts, but
like freaking throw a rock on Jim Brown or not Jim Brown.
Mike Brown.
Mike Brown, yeah, Mike Brown, whatever Brown he is.
Well, you know what? If you're expecting Mike Brown to make a good decision, then good luck. But
I mean, hey man, look, Jimmy Haslam listens to a homeless guy.
Well,
that's Johnny Manziel. Homeless guy came up to like draft Johnny, and he was like, "Okay, do something."
So moving on to the Steelers. Have been having a pretty rotten offseason so far because
let them rot.
Huh?
Let them rot.
Let them rot. I agree with you. They restructured Ben Roethlisberger, which is great. Now you get to have another year of Ben Roethlisberger past, all recognition of his previous Hall of Fame form. Yay, I guess. I don't know. But you know what they've done so far in free agency? Well, they brought in Joe Haig and BJ Finney. Yay! And they lost Mike Hilton, Tyson Alualu, Matt Filer, and Bud Dupree. So yeah, I think we could call that a net loss. I think maybe bringing in BJ Finney might be a net loss by itself.
Yeah, that guy was just a throw-in on that Dunlap trade. It was like, why the hell not?
It was literally just to be like, hey, look, an offensive lineman. Like, honestly, whoever we pick up with that 7th round pick, I almost guarantee you is going to be more impressive than BJ Finney ever was.
That's fair.
I liked kind of the thought process, like, hey, you know what? They got an offensive lineman they don't want, and we kind of need to get rid of Carlos Dunlap, so why not at least throw a dart at the board and go get an offensive lineman? But, I mean, let's not, try to, don't get it twisted. Finney didn't do anything. He didn't do anything, in Seattle either. The only place he's ever done anything is in Pittsburgh, so fuck that guy. But I mean that's my thing. He was trash, and going back to Pittsburgh, I don't see any reason he would be anything other than trash. And I guess Joe Haig's okay, but it's like that's the best thing they've done all offseason is bring in Joe Haig of all people.
Now they re-signed Juju.
That's a problem. I mean, that's good for me. That's good for me, the Bengals fan. That's good for you, the Bengals fan. That's good for Thomas, although there's not quite as much of a stigma there with him playing the Browns. Although actually, wasn't he the one who said the Browns are still the Browns?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
all
Or
Juju
hold on,
does
or
is
was
get
that Chase
Steelers in trouble.
Claypool?
I think it was a combination, but I think Juju's the one who said it.
No, yeah, you're right, yeah. But Claypool, he didn't start running his mouth either.
Yeah.
F that team. I cannot wait. I cannot wait to just see like every single team in the AFC North just dookie on the Steelers this year. It's going to be a fun division to watch. Everybody just take their turns beat up the Steelers. I hope they go 0-16. Wait, hold up. What's the quarterback? What's the top quarterback come out of the draft next year?
Who cares?
Well, I don't want them to get the best quarterback in the draft.
No, I understand, but there's not like that. There's not a guy like that in the next class.
Okay. You know what? Look. Okay. I hope the Steelers go 7-9, the worst record you can have in the NFL, where they're not going to be good enough to make the playoffs, and they're not bad enough to get a high pick.
I think I would rather see them go like 6-10 because like 7-9, that just seems like the quintessential. Like the Steelers had a bad year, but like they only had like a 7-9 year. That's like that would just seem like that would be like the whole the Mike Tomlin thing to do, right? Like we celebrate the fact that they had a losing record, but it was 7-9. It's not like it was the end of the fucking world or anything.
Well, I mean, still. I mean, like Mike Tomlin haven't had a single losing season. He hasn't had a single losing season since ever, actually. Have he? Isn't that the?
Nah, I don't think he has.
Nah. They did not. You're not gonna get Mike Tomlin to win 6 games. If Mike Tomlin wins 6 games, he's getting fired. Like, there's no way that happens.
I think 7-9 would probably hurt Tomlin more than 6-10. 7-9 is like I was almost there.
Yeah, 7-9. All right, I'm rooting for y'all to go 7-9.
Well, first of all, don't forget there's 17 games.
That's right. I hope they go 7-10.
7-10. I'll do 7-10. I can do 7-10 because that's still enough that it's like, okay, you suck.
I don't want to,
because like 7-9 feels like you're almost there. 7-10 feels like, okay, you got a lot of work to do here.
Yeah.
But all right. So we are quickly running out of time on this meeting time again because it's always fun when we have a guest on. And Ian, you were fantastic.
You were great.
I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up this episode of the podcast, everybody. So thank you for listening. If you want to follow more of what I do, you can find me on Twitter at KylePhelps92, or you can follow me on Facebook.com/StuffPhelps. Thomas, you can find him at T_star94 on Twitter and Instagram. He's on TikTok and he's got a YouTube page called Blowdown Page. Got a lot of good comedy videos. Where can they find you, Ian?
They can find me on Facebook, Ian Plank, Twitter, Plank33, Instagram, Plank33 as well. All
right. Well, anyway, thanks for listening, everybody. That's pretty much all we got for today. Hopefully next week we will pretty much have a wrapped up free agency for you, and we can really start getting into some of this draft talk. But that's pretty much it for today. So I'll leave y'all with the Who Dey.
Who Dey?
Pittsburgh still sucks. Oh, Sorry,
I'll take that. All right.